My story, when I really look back at where I am today in my career and life, for me, I was really thinking about this at a deep level. What do I want to share that's going to make a difference for people here? And that really gets to the essence of kind of my journey. And I think for me, it's about my inner voice. It's about that gut intuition, that sacred knowing that I believe we all have. And for me, the way that that looks is listening and not listening to that. And so different parts of my life, I feel like there were darker moments when I look back when I was not listening. And so for me, that started with, I think if you guys remember some of my talk, right out of college, I had a fellowship at UVA. I spent a year there, and then I got married to a really great person. And also intuitively, I knew immediately that that was not the right fit, and I chose not to listen to that. That knowing came up way later. I'll get to that in a minute, because I think that was actually a pivotal moment for me. And so my journey is around learning to listen at a very deep level, and hopefully, inspiring others to do that so that we can all live into that term, you is to you. It comes from that evolution of living into your higher purpose, that knowing. So I married somebody who's really a great person, not the best energetic fit for me. So what that looked like was, I had a job that he loved and his family loved. I liked it. I felt like it was fine. I did really well because I was a frickin' teacher's pet type, so I always, wanted to do well, but I felt, again, that word was fine. And then I left that community after 6 years. I was at Georgetown, I was at UVA, and then I went to the International Center of this organization, nonprofit, and I said, okay, done with the nonprofits, and so what did I do? I went into food. As you guys probably remember, the way that I've dealt with periods of not listening to my voice has been to use food, to use and abuse food to handle emotions that I couldn't handle, to handle not listening to my inner knowing. And so what did I do? I went to Panera Bread, which was just brilliant. So there I am. I started as a manager for 6 months. They wanted me to get the experience first before working in their corporate office. Mind you, this franchise is the most successful franchise in the country. When I started, they had 10 locations, and when I left, 11 years later, they had 63. So after I did the stint of manager, which was like every single thing, I gotta tell you, actually, I make an awesome cappuccino, if anyone wants one. I also know how to make really good cinnamon rolls, which I should never have had my hands around, but that's all right. It was quite an interesting test for me with, eating in a way that works for my body. But I did that for 6 months, and I went into the corporate office, and there I call my 2-for-1 job. I was director of recruiting, which started with 10 locations, ended with 63, so you can do the math. I also was director of guest services, so I was the chick that you called if you had not enough chicken on your salad, and you wanted to call and be pissed about that, or literally any issue. I was the one you got. I talked to probably 20 to 50 people a day. I sent coupons. I recruited everybody. So I had this interesting role. And I joked that, what started to happen was I would talk to people about, not having enough roast beef on their sandwich. And I was like, this is not about the roast beef. You are angry. There's something else going on. I'm guessing because I can hear it. So I was like, it's not about the fucking roast beef. That's not what it is. And I would get in these long-winded coaching conversations. It was so inappropriate. They loved me because I was like saving people left and right, but I was like, I'm just doing coaching now for free, talking about your chicken, but really it's not the chicken, and we know what it is. And so that was part of my job for 11 years. All the while, I'm going downstairs, eating bagels, eating out of the trash, feeling fine. Work is fine. But again, I don't know. Raise your hand if you want fine. Who the fuck wants fine? No one wants fine. I want extraordinary. And I realized in that period, I woke up with a panic attack. My kids were 2 kids under 2. And I realized I had not been listening to my inner voice. And we'll just spare you the details, but that was the awakening for me. I literally heard my body speak, and the wisdom of my body and my soul say, you're not okay here. So I'm getting a little vulnerable, but that is the truth. That's what I felt and heard, and I shared that with my husband at the time the next morning. That was a very enlivening conversation. That was not fun, but I felt I'd started doing a lot of work on myself, support groups, 30 grand in therapy, every personal development program known to humankind, and I realized integrity is non-negotiable, and I need to finally step up and be who I am and listen to my voice. And I really got that. For me, I just get it until I get it, until there's a breakdown, but I got it. And I started to rearrange my entire life. I went back and got a master's in health and wellness coaching and nutrition, like 15 certifications, which no one should ever do at one time. And then I had a health breakdown, and my thyroid stopped working, and moved out of my house, out of a 15-year relationship. It was just complete breakdown, and it was one of the most incredibly freeing moments of my life. I remember at that time, I'll just out myself, I felt like, my animal spirit was a butterfly. Yes, I haven't said animal spirit in this room. I wore butterflies. It was just that transformation, that metamorphosis. I really related to it because I felt so trapped. And the thing is, I had trapped myself by my own beliefs, my thoughts, by not listening to the sacred voice within. And so that became my obsession. And for 2 years at Panera before I left, I had 2 jobs in one. I was going through masters, all these other things. I realized I am not okay with fine. That's not what I was designed to do with Brother James' song. I'm not gonna go to the grave full and not have expressed who I really am. And so I started my master's program, and I had coaching clients that wanted to stay on. So here I am coaching. I'm coaching people about their frickin' cinnamon roll and coffee being too hot. But that wasn't bringing an income. And long story short is I decided over 2 years, I created my own scrappy website. I mean, if you see today, it looks nothing like that. And I did it myself. I taught myself, WordPress. I mean, it was horrible, but I was so proud of it. And it was like every single day during lunch, I would shut the door like Shawshank Redemption. And I was like, if anyone saw that movie, I'm like scratching in the hall on the wall. And I'm like, I'm getting through, I'm going to break free. And I finally left. My big thing was leap and the net will appear. And what's ironic is I took a part-time health coaching job, which is not really what I do anymore. And within the first month, I realized this company was totally out of integrity. So I left. So here I am, a month out. Everyone's like, go, Julie. You always have your job back. They're like, you can come anytime. And I'm like, no. Left. And this job, right away, I said, I can't do this. There's no integrity, and integrity is non-negotiable, and I have to listen to my heart. So it was awesome because it got me very much in a creative mode. When you're facing like, okay, I'm here doing nothing, like I don't know what's gonna happen. And it's just been a blessing since then. I started, it's iterated, and so I started coaching individuals, and I was very lucky. I found an amazing training center, and they hired me for leadership trainings and mindfulness trainings for companies and the government and coaching clients. And then I did personal training and then realized, you know what? I don't really love personal training. I like to train myself, but I want to talk about what's between your ears, not really like moving as much. I want to talk about what's moving in your brain. And so the thing I'll say is just what's happened over the last 3.5, almost 4 years, I believe, and probably similar to the non-flight plan that we were talking about earlier, I am very much you just try, go in, do it. If it doesn't do well, then you learn and you move on. And so when people are like, oh, what, you seem to have all these plans, I'm like, I have no plans. The only thing I do, some plans, very little, is the most important thing for me today. My whole business, everything that I'm about starts with getting still and getting quiet and really tapping into who I believe, I came to this planet to be. And I believe we all have a sacred purpose. There's something like 1 in 14 trillion chances of being born, something crazy like that. That number, I don't know, it's beyond comprehensible, and I'm not okay with getting through this life not actualizing who I'm meant to be, and I'm not okay with you not actualizing who you're meant to be. And so that expresses itself in a lot of different ways today. I can talk more about it, but I would say that the most important driver for me is getting in alignment with who I really am, not with the fear, not with the things that say no, but that deep knowing and honing in there and trusting and then moving from there. And that is truly how all of I feel like what feels like blessings that have blossomed, these plants, we plant the seeds, our thoughts are our seeds. And so I am very in tune with what thoughts I'm planting, especially about myself and especially about you. Because everything, as we said earlier, my outer world reflects my inner world. And so I manage my inner world every day, and that's where I create from. And so today, it is not fine. It is imperfectly, sometimes not pretty, and extraordinary. Yeah.
Julie, awesome. Awesome. So one more opportunity for either of you to share if there's been if there's anything else you want to share, one lesson that you've learned in your work or in your life that you think would support others in their journey to creating a quantum leap. Please, Julie, please.
So I have 3 quick ones as well. The first I would say, and it's funny, I was just saying to Hal, my next book is going to be about this, and I'm going to totally talk this book out instead of writing it. I'm so freaking excited, because clearly I like to talk. Don't love writing, love talking. So the name, what I am calling it is counterintuitive, and that's my first thought for everybody is I really do believe we all have this connection, this guidance, this inner compass, this intuition, gut feeling, heart, whatever the heck you want to call it. We were born with it, and for some of us, we are in tune with it. For others, we've kind of haven't said hello to it since we were 8. I really feel that getting in tune with your intuition, your gut, your sacred purpose, whatever that looks like, and I'm happy to talk to people later if you want to talk about how I do it or what works for you, doesn't work, but tuning in daily, sitting still, getting quiet, maybe doing some writing, whatever that is. We've got savers, hello. But tuning into your intuition and using intuition as a compass. That would be my first thing that has just been, any time I've not listened to it, there's just night and day. And when I listen to it, I've never been steered wrong, never. In fact, it's opened doors and created miracles I couldn't believe. So intuition. It's a little counterintuitive these days. I feel like everyone in the room probably are on the same page, but in our society, it's fast-paced, and we often think we got to do more. I actually think it's less. I think you got to be more. You got to be. Be first, then do. That's my motto, be, then do. Don't do without being. Trust me, I've done it. We can talk about that later. It's a nightmare. So 1 would be that. 2, I like to say just the idea of that sweet spot of that calling, that what lights you up in your belly, and marrying that with being of service and understanding that when you put those together, I believe there's an alchemy that happens, an equation, it gets ignited, that only you were created to do, only I was created to do, and the universe will open up to opportunities when you are in that spot of both strengths and what lights you up and being of service. And then lastly, for me, it's always about love. How can I add more love to myself and to you and to the planet? And whatever I'm creating, I like to create the intention of how may this serve for the highest good of all. I think when you have all those 3 things in place, sky is the friggin' limit. And we all have ways to express ourselves that I believe are meant to be expressed. And so tuning into those ways of doing that, you have no idea what kind of value you're going to add to the planet. So you can tell fear to go to the side. If you read Big Magic, and take a front seat, drive with you in the front seat. And I would encourage you, I'm fearful all the time. That's okay. Of service, making a difference, love for the highest good of all. That's what works for me.
Julie Reisler, Asthma, let's give it up. Big round of applause. Awesome.